Hello and welcome to another Ask Nerida Joy video. I have a new model here with me today. We're very excited. Her name is Brianna and she is someone that I met a year ago. She had just got engaged and she had come in, she was having problems with her skin, and she tells me tonight that apparently I back then took her off cheese and peanuts and soy milk. And when I saw her tonight, which I hadn't seen her in a long time, I'm just like, oh my gosh, her skin is so much better. So I wanted to have her come back in and just see how she's doing with her skin, which is great. She had a lot of breakouts on her cheeks. And so we can see her skin here is really pretty. And she has barely any congestion on her cheek. She has a tiny little bit of scarring. She's a little dry on her forehead. And that's one area that I'm going to work on today. She's got a few open pores around her nose, but her skin is really, really pretty, and it's so different from when I saw her a year ago. So I'm really excited to have her back. Hello, Brianna. We're going to start off her treatment here. I wanted to point out what is going on with her neck. And it's not something that I remembered last time, but once someone's skin is really good on their face, then of course you're looking for other areas. It's like, okay, well, what do we need to work on now to make her skin even better? So we have a really pretty cheeks, a little bit oily on the nose, as I said, a few blackheads. The forehead is a little bit surface dry, so we have those pretend wrinkles up there on the forehead that are not really wrinkles, but just from surface dryness. She may have sort of had a little bit of sun up there over the years, so she's got just a mild amount of dehydration up there, and again, as I said, those tiny little pretend wrinkles, because they're not really wrinkles, just from dryness. But we have on her neck, I noticed she's got down here on her neck, and maybe we might have to bring the camera over and just have a look at this. She's a lot darker around her neck area, so when you're talking about skin tones, her skin is really even, really pretty on her face, and a little bit darker on her forehead because it's getting a little bit of sun up there. So important for her to make sure she's using a sunscreen and protecting that forehead. But down here on the neck is where she's darker around here, and she's also got a brown spot on this side. She's got some little papillomas, the little skin tags down here on the neck too, which are also really common because they are those fleshy bits of skin that sometimes they just come up with pregnancy, or sometimes they just appear, and we notice them around the glands. So you'll see them, a lot of people get them up around the eye, you can get them down on the neck, you get them around under your arm and under the boob area. So it's something that is very common, and sometimes they just disappear, but they're the skin tags. You can have them zapped and removed. But I did want to, maybe we might just bring that camera over here, because there's a little bit of blotchiness down here on the neck. So I need to make her aware of that, so that she's going to be putting sunscreen on it and really sort of paying attention. So often when people wear their hair up and back a lot, the neck is exposed and getting sun that they're not even aware of. So that's really important. So it is worse on her left side, which is her driving side. So it's darker, and I'm just going to have the cameraman bring the camera over so you can all see. So here we've got a brown spot. But see how much darker this area is compared to the rest of her face. She's got a little bit of blotchiness that comes up behind her ear as well. And that colouring sort of goes just around this area here. This is a skin tag, this fleshy bit of skin, and she's got a couple of other smaller ones coming up, another one here on the side of her neck. Sometimes if someone's wearing perfume up around the ear area, it's important to make sure that you always put your perfumes and colognes for men, put it in areas where the sun cannot get to. So for a woman, I always suggest to be under the clothing, but she's got a little bit of blotchiness here by her ear, and this is different. This is sun damage down here on the neck. So it is worse on this side than it is the other side. So we'll just turn her head over, and this is the right side, so the non-driving side. So you can see this side here is really not very dark compared to her left side. Alrighty, so it's quite a bit darker on the driver's side. So that's something we're going to point out. Okay, so we've had a look at Brianna's neck, and you can see on the left side, the driver's side, her skin is a lot darker. She's got a few little skin tags there that are more newer to her, she just told me. And she has some staining up here by her ear. I asked her if she's putting perfume up there, and she said she is. So for guys that use colognes and aftershave after shaving, it's really important that you don't use it, anything with alcohol in it, because if you are going out in the sun, it's going to stain your skin, and that's often why you see on guys they have a lot of ruddy or that brownish ruddy look on the neck. And for women, we get that staining, and I've actually seen a picture of a girl that used to put perfume on her chest, and it ran all the way down, and she has a stain because she was on the beach all the time, and she has a brown stain that just like a drip of this perfume that would just roll down. So it was on her skin, then she'd be out in the sun, and then the sun fried it, and it left her with a brown line on her chest. So it's really important to make sure you put your perfumes under your clothing, that you're not using it in an area where the sun can directly get to. That's really, really important. And what I'm going to suggest for Brianna is that she uses sunscreen on her neck. And whether it be a powder form or a liquid, doesn't matter, but as long as she's putting something on her neck. She also mentioned that she pulls her hair back more on that one side of her face. So she's getting more sun, and for everybody that, sun obviously is going to discolor the skin. It doesn't matter what coloring your skin is. Some skins can take it better, the sun, but it still can make the skin blotchy, and that's what we do not want. So I'm going to work on Brianna. I'm going to work on lightening this area up for her today, and also I'm going to make sure that she is aware, which obviously she's listening to me, so she'll be putting sunscreen on those areas moving forward. So we're going to start. Her eye area is really actually quite good. I think from memory, when I saw her a year ago, I do remember her eyes being a little bit darker. So the skin around the eye area is actually really very good. Her skin is really, really pretty and really nice. So we're going to do a little touch up here. I'm going to cleanse off her skin. I'm going to exfoliate her skin, do some light cleaning around the nose area where she's more oily. Her skin type, looking at it, looks more like a combination dry. She doesn't have an abundance of oil here anymore. So it's, I think sort of what she was having coming out on her cheeks was really not from oil, from the overactive sebaceous glands. Her skin type looks like it has always been a combination drier skin, meaning that she's just been oily here, more areas drier. But when you have acne that comes out on the cheeks and it's food related, then that's not from oil. And if you are eating certain foods that your body doesn't digest and break down well, then you will get these little bumps on the cheek area, which we know in face mapping is the small intestine. So we have the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine down here, and Brianna's was in her small intestine area where she used to have all these tiny little bumps under her skin, but she doesn't eat cheese anymore, she said, and it's really cleaned up her skin a lot. So so she's doing a great job. So now we're going to get started. I'm going to cleanse off her skin, and we'll do some more fun things. So I am using the K cleanser, which is my non-foaming gel cleanser. Now, when you have skin tags, if you choose to have them removed, it's really important to have them removed in a way that doesn't mark the skin, because what happens when you have a skin tag and it's that fleshy bit of skin, if you pull it up with a tweezer and then your dermatologist zaps them, because usually the dermatologist is going to send it off to make sure everything's okay with it and to have it tested. But if they pull it up and then just sort of work around the base of the skin tag, then you're not going to be left with a stub. But sometimes if they just cut it off, sometimes they leave a little stump, and that stump is not great. So you want to make sure that it's burnt right at the base, or if they're going to trim it, as a lot of them do, then it's done at the base and it doesn't leave a stump there. Sometimes I've seen, and especially on, a darker skin tone, if they are going to be zapping it, sometimes they just zap it, and I've seen white hypopigmentation marks that have been left as a result of the zapping. So it's really important, if you're going to remove them, make sure that it's pulled up and it's done properly without it sort of being zapped directly on it, because that way you can't upset the pigment. So you just have to be really careful. Back in the olden days, what they were doing to remove skin tags was using the very thin fish wire, holding the tag up with a pair of tweezers and wrapping the fish wire around, and then just pulling it. And each day you'd pull it a little bit more and pull, and then it would just fall off, and it was great and easy. But nowadays it is recommended that the dermatologist remove them, and that they send it off and have it tested and make sure that everything's fine. So we're just going to take off that cleanser now with the sponges and warm water. So it's really important. I'd had a lot of people ask me if I could bring in more models, African American models, because I'm trying to work with a lot of different skin types and skin colorings, and that's really important for you all to see, to learn. So what's really important to understand is that a darker skin, although it is very it can really take sun better than my skin, for instance, it's a more sensitive skin in other ways because of the pigment. So it's very important to handle it, very carefully. And, equally so, a lighter skin you've got to handle very carefully as well in certain areas. The same with a darker skin. So we all have our range of skin colorings, and again, even an Asian skin, very sensitive, So it's just that there are certain things that will affect the skin more. There are things like resorcinol. There are some products that you can't use if you are a darker skin tone. It just doesn't work. It fries it, and then they end up with more pigment issues. So you do have to be really, really careful. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that a lot of people think it's a tougher skin, but it's actually not. So it's something that you really have to be very careful in what you're using, that you don't burn and fry the skin, because if you upset the pigment cells, which is the melanocytes in a darker skin tone, then it's going to be upset for a really long time often. So you want to make sure that you're extra careful in what you're using, that your ingredients are coated well, that your lipoceutical vehicles, that your ingredients are within. You want to make sure that they're very protective and they're not harmful and burning and frying, because we don't want burning and frying. So what we're going to do here now, I'm going to use the exfoliating mask on Brianna, but I'm going to mix it with a lot of healing gel. I don't want it to be too strong, and I'm just going to work it into her skin, and particularly taking it down onto the neck, because we want to pay special attention to the neck. The neck it's a different skin than the face. The face can take a lot more that the neck cannot. So we want to be really careful. We don't want to make it the darker areas even darker. So we're going to really work a lot of healing gel in with my exfoliating mask, so we don't have any problems. So here I have the exfoliating mask, which is my papaya-based exfoliating mask. It has a little bit of the lemon peel powder in it. It has glycolic, which is your smallest alpha hydroxy acid, and the healing gel is 98% aloe vera. A lot of people have asked me, well, why can't you just put the aloe vera plant on your face? The aloe vera plant you can put, if you break open a leaf, you can put it on your body, but you cannot put it on your face because it can burn the skin. And that's how you can get a chemical burn. So sometimes things are better buffered, and it's important to, not everything natural and organic is great to put directly on the skin. So what we're doing is we're working in the exfoliating mask, and again, I've got quite a lot of healing gel with it. You want to make sure when you're putting anything that has that's quite liquidy, you want to make sure their eyes are closed, because obviously we don't want to be getting it into anyone's eyes. The skin is so nice. Alrighty, so I'm just going to make sure that we really get this neck area well over here, and I'm going to work it in over here. We have to lighten this up and improve this skin texture. If we let Brianna continue on without doing anything with her neck, she's going to find she's going to age there very quickly, and the neck area is much drier, it's much thicker, and she's going to, you know, it's going to be significantly different from the rest of her face. So it is a good thing that she's here because we can save her neck. So that's great. So we're just going to work this into this neck area, and this again is just the exfoliating mask and the healing gel. And I'm just using my knuckles here to work it in. I've said this before in a previous video. I've talked about sun damage. When people wear their hair back a lot, or if they have really short hair, a lot of women and men forget to put sunblock on their ears, on the tops of their ears. And I have some clients that are athletes and that, you know, wear their hair back a lot or have short hair, and they have so much sun damage on their ear. And it's really important to pay attention to the ears, because when we have our clients on the table, you can't see their ears because usually it's covered up with your headpiece. So it's important to just have a look at the ear and just see if they have sun damage around the top of the ear, because it's usually an area that people are not putting sunblock on there. And the nice sunblocks that you can use on your ears are the powders, because being that it's close to the hair, you don't want to get goop in your hair. There's a lot of powder sunscreens, the mineral powder sunscreens that have the SPF in it as high as 50, and it comes in a retractable brush, so you can just brush it on the ear, and it's very convenient and really important, especially if you're an outdoors kind of person and you have short hair or you wear your hair back a lot. You need to protect the top of the ear. So we're just going to work that in here. I'm going to be, as I said, doing a lot of work on this neck area because it really needs it. I'm going to take off the exfoliating mask now. We're using cooler water. Now once we take this off, her skin could still be a little bit tingly because it does have the glycolic in it. So what I always like to do after I take off the exfoliating mask is put on the healing gel. So I'm just going to put this on. Now, the one thing when you work with retinols and AHAs, I tend to work a lot more with retinols on a darker skin tone because it just works really good. Retinols are a tricky ingredient in that there are different types of retinols. They're all derivatives of the vitamin A grouping. So you've got your retinoic acid, which is a form of retinol, and then you've got your acetate and your palmitate and your A1 and your A2, and like our alpha hydroxy acid molecules, your vitamin A also has different molecules of different weight and size. So it's wonderful when you can work with a complex of your vitamin A, because then you've got your different size and weight, and that means it goes to different levels within the skin. So remember, before we've spoken about your alpha hydroxy acid, your glycolic, lactic, malic, tartaric, and citrus, that they form a strong structure. And it's the same with the vitamin A. If you work with a complex of vitamin A and not just retinoic acid, retin A, then you're getting to different levels in the skin, and that's what helps build a stronger foundation in the skin. So when you're working on a darker skin, and Brianna's, you know, not a medium tone, she's not terribly dark, but her neck, on the other hand, down here where she's had a bit of sun, is. So we're going to work in some of the retinols, but it's just, retinols are just great in how they work and how they support the skin. Sometimes your alpha hydroxy acids can burn and fry, and remember we've said just earlier that we don't want to burn and fry, because then that's going to make darker areas darker. So it's really important, and that makes the skin blotchy. So it's really important to work a lot with your retinols on darker skin tones. So we're just going to start working that in. She's got the healing gel on now. I'm going to work in my Q flavonoid, and that's what supports the skin. It feeds the skin a lot of nutrients. So here we go. It's quite dark and yellow in color. This has your arnica, your vitamin P, your vitamin K, and it really feeds the skin a lot of nutrients. So it's very soothing and calming, and it's very much part of keeping a skin healthy. So that's why I use it all the time in my videos on just about everybody. I'm going to put it up quite close around her eyes too, because it really helps with dark circles. So I'm going to put it up quite close up here. Okay, so we want to get it down in here onto this neck. Righty. So I'm going to work in a little bit more down there. And then we're going to be putting on some retinol and we're going to do a nice massage. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my retinol formula, and I think I'm getting down to the bottom of them. So I have two right here because I use it so much and I love it. I just went and had my nails done earlier and they said, oh, your fingernails, what's happened to the polish? It's all yellow. And I said, it's because of my retinols and my flavonoid that I use on everybody. So it's not good for the nail polish, let me tell you. Alrighty, so we're working this in here. This is the retinol. And I'm going to add a little bit more to my hands because I honestly feel it's already lightening. I can see it, it's working. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, most people don't put cream on this side of the neck. So, you know, and the reason being, I mean, you know, it's a good enough reason because it makes the hair greasy. But it's really important if you have an issue with your neck that you are maybe wearing your hair back and putting it in something soft so that when you do go to bed you can put cream on your neck and that you can put your serums and just work this area, because it's an area that, you know, will show your age if you're not protecting it and taking care of it. So we're just working this in here, and I'm going to put a little bit more eye gel around her eyes.